Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Louise Marler, and this is my Thursday Live, which is where we're going. And today I'm looking at my perspectives on women in business. Now, I'm a practitioner. I speak, but I also coach, and I look at people's approach and the culture that they're in, their body and their voice skills and the structures that they use. So psychology, non-verbals and structure. And that's what I do on a very practical, hands-on basis. So I'm not a professor of gender studies, and also I recognise that these are issues of diversity, not just for women. But what I'd like to do is just share some stories about women and my practical experience of hands-on. Now, I could only find some figures for 2015, but in 2015, we found that women had increased by 46% in the workforce. And certainly since that time, those women have been raised to senior positions on the boards or running their own entrepreneurial businesses. And along the way, what the journey that I see they have had is that they've found that they've not had a chance to be heard, that they've been left off the agenda, that there've been private jokes without them, there've been drips of criticism, constantly interrupted, times cut short, and abused privately often. And so what happens is we have people in leadership today who are highly capable in what they do, but are suffering in different ways. And they're feeling stressed. They stop presenting. They stop speaking up. And their confidence is sometimes totally shattered. And they keep doing their work, but in more and more silence. And I hear this story over and over and over. And what happens along the way is people finally come to me when, say you're a political leader and you get a call from someone who is more of a political leader than you are and says, you have your rallying speech next week. And all you can do is actually write it out and want to read it when this is not a forum for reading a speech. And you've got 1 week to get that right. Or you have something in me that has gone wrong, and what's happened is you're suddenly facing a television camera, or you've started your own business and you're wanting to do a video to express it, and suddenly you feel like you can't do it. Let's see what else we've got. Career progression, and other people are getting the job and you've just got no idea why that's happening. You find that you've got stakeholders in a meeting and they're being very aggressive and you would rather die than get up and face them. Or you're an industry expert and you want to get on the TV or on video and express those views and you just can't. Or you're a doctor who's going for a postgraduate program and they have a practical exam and they're telling you you don't have the expertise when you do have the expertise. And so these are crisis points when people actually pick up the phone and go, help. I have to say that that help should have happened earlier, but that is when it starts. Now, in my experience, many of these situations are like cruelty to dumb animals. And it's not because people aren't excellent at what they do, they are, but they don't have the skills. And I will ask, do you understand what's happening with your audience? Do you understand your own anxiety and how that's affecting you? No. People go, I say, what body skills are you learning? What vocal skills are you working with? And they go, no. And then I'll ask, what structures are you using to engage and capture people? And they'll go, no, I hadn't thought about it. And it's like, can you see that's cruelty to dumb animals? Because if you're going out without those skills, you're pushing shit uphill. There is something inherently wrong with not teaching people these skills, because without being aware, we're devoicing people. And en masse. And then the advice that we give is, you know what you need? More confidence. You know what you need? You need to relax. And this is useless advice for someone who is under the type of stress that we're talking about. So, examples of what we can do. One lady came to me and she had a speech, and in the speech, very prominently, she said, my first commitment is to my husband and my children. And I'm like, why is that in the speech? Like, I'm kind of not seeing the relevance. Well, the criticism is from the public that they're saying she's too busy, that she couldn't possibly handle the job. Has anyone heard of Jacinda Ardern? Like, she's handled the terrorism. She's been re-elected. She's handled the epidemic, and with a baby in arm. These are great examples now. And I think what we need to do is not go, they're saying that, therefore I have to move in this direction. No, we go, who is saying this? What do I need to do? No, hold your ground. Do not be shifted by criticism that is possibly going to send you in the wrong direction. Another person who will say, I'm being told I don't sound like I've got the confidence. Therefore, the people who are saying this are bastards. They're not bastards. They are people who have a perception of leadership as being a voice that is low, slow, and loud. So we have to look at ourselves and say, I don't want to fake that to make it, but what am I doing that maybe is putting me right out of the realm? And one of the things we do is we speak incredibly high out of our range, or we do upwards inflection. So, I think that's really critical. And we go up at the end, up at the end, up at the end. That very much undermines what we do. So we're not pandering to low, slow, and loud. We're realizing that people have that perception, and we're just altering. And then another client who says, I just need to get out and practice, practice, practice. So I'm bad, therefore I practice. No, if you are stressed, don't have the structures, don't have the body skills, don't have the voice skills, what are you practicing? Being nervous. Your first step is actually to find out what to do to practice, practice, practice. So that lack of understanding sends us around in circles. Basically, it is hard work. It's a change plan to understand what is the environment you're in. Now, what are you doing now? What could you be doing? Why would you bother changing? And then practice, 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 practice. And on the way, there'll be barriers to success. And you recognize those and burst through them and keep going. But you know what? This is one side of the equation. So often we're saying to these women, your problem, your problem, your problem. There's another side, and it's the men. I coach men, and one man said to me recently, we've got a woman on the board, and we've been virtual now for many months, and actually I don't think I've heard her voice in any of the meetings. What? That's her problem, is it? Somebody needs to stop and chair this meeting and hear all voices. Am I wrong? And then, we have, when I've been on panels for International Women's Day, and there might be a man on the panel, and I'll ring him up and I'll say, what is your strategy to help women in our work environment? And do you know, I've heard it more than once that the gentleman has said to me, I don't have a strategy. I think all people are equal and we treat them equally. And I've thought, do you have any idea what people are going through out there? Do you think you could get a strategy by Wednesday, by the conference on Wednesday? I find that astounding that we are so unaware of how people are struggling to get their voice heard. So what do? Well, for the women, these are my practical experiences. They're not theories, just what I see on a daily basis, which I thought that I would share very briefly in these few minutes. And I believe that for women, it is true. We talked about Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, the famous dancers, and everyone talked about Fred Astaire until someone pointed out that Ginger Rogers, their ballroom dancers, did the same moves as Fred Astaire, but she did them backwards and in heels. Recognise that was a little bit difficult. And we need to recognise and do that for women. And for men, I think it really is time for what I call a Legends of Awesomeness program, where we actually teach skills. It's not just observing the bias, but teaching the skills of helping people who feel devoiced. I've talked about women today, but it can be diversity as well. And when it comes to doing something about it, I think of a piece of advice for women: never walk down a dark alley alone. Get help. Thank you.